The rhythm of a morning often matches the mood, place, or tasks for the day. It is something Phil Dean pays particular interest to. As a creative director, business leader, and artist, his rhythm changes from day to day, helping get him in the right mindset to tackle what's to come. This is how the morning helps him rise and shine.
Well, yeah, thank you very much for being here today. I appreciate it. We always like to start with what wakes you up in the morning and what's your first thought?
That's a really good question, because I've been thinking about what wakes me up in the morning, and it typically is the light that comes through the edges of the blind. I don't really have a alarm, because the light wakes me up, which is it's quite a cool thing. It used to be the dog when he slept on the bed, but he sleeps in his own bed now, which is quite interesting. So it's actually the light, and I can tell what time of day it is, usually by the tone of the light. I know that sounds a bit weird.
No.
So I'm a big fan of trying to wake up like naturally like that. I mean, clearly if I've got to get a train to, Warrington at 6 a.m, then I've got an alarm, right? Which is a bit of a shock to the system. But usually for me, it's the sort of tone of the light. I know it sounds quite gentle, but that usually works for me. I feel really blessed that I can do that.
Yeah.
I'm not like a lot of people, I'm really conscious a lot of people have a 5 a.m, like, or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
And it's a slap in the face, right? And I have done that, over the years. So, what I love most of all is I can do that sort of slightly more gentle, but it's usually around 6 a.m, between then I have these sort of fitful states, where I can sort of, especially in the summer.
Yeah.
In the winter it's a bit harder, isn't it? Because it's pitch black, So still in the UK.
Yeah. You don't feel like doing. The light makes such a big difference to me personally with like the energy you feel as well. Like when it's light outside, when you wake up, you feel like getting up and going and doing stuff. When it's dark, you just think I'll just pull the covers over and go back to bed.
Yeah, this time of year, obviously when we're recording this, it's April, so we're getting into spring and it's early summer, and it's a joy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because it's I can sort of tell what kind of time it is, and maybe that's just something that in your circadian rhythms in your body that you just get a feel for like what's right and what's not.
Yeah. And so you've woken up hopefully naturally. What's the next thing?
I'm not particularly a brilliant sleeper. I'm definitely not what you'd call a morning person. I usually would have been up probably too late the night before. Not going out nightclubbing. It's not my job anymore. That's not my. I'm too old for that kind of thing. But I will definitely be later going to bed, and so I'm a little bit. I'm not going to lie. I'm a little bit groggy. I don't jump out of bed like with a joie de vivre that perhaps I would have done. But the first thing for me is a cup of tea. So whether it's me making the cup of tea or my wife making the cup of tea, it's like, for me, that's the absolute rhythm of our morning, which is first cup of tea, bit of a chill, what's going on, just a very, very quiet sort of setup. We have a dog, so it'll be a case of taking him out, and there's actually, it's interesting since you asked me to talk about mornings. I've been thinking about the rhythm of it, and sort of like what goes on in the morning perhaps more than I would normally, actually, which is quite interesting. So it's quite a nice sort of routine that we have, which is, we'll go, we'll check in, we'll have a cup of tea. I will definitely pick up my phone. I know a lot of people don't advocate that, but I'll do that and see what's going on. But I won't start scrolling endlessly. I'll have a quick look, because I run my sketcher business through the phone, so it's a bit of a quick what's going on overnight, just making sure there's nothing that's I need to think about. Then I put the phone away, and then we'll have a chill for a bit, actually. So for me, mornings currently are about a more gentle rhythm before I get into getting out the door and getting on the tube or getting on the bus and actually going into the West End of London.
Yeah.
I think different points of your life, then your mornings are very different. And there was a time when I'd be setting my alarm for 5 a.m, getting up and sorted out the door, going down the gym, all of that.
Yeah.
You know? So I'm lucky in that I don't have to be doing that on a morning per se. I mean, that's a good time to do it.
Yeah.
But, you know, you're thinking, you know, can I be bothered to do that?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I think it's interesting to hear you say how you're lucky that you're able to do that. I think that shows that you take that, you value that time in the mornings, which I don't think, you know, like I said, I've got 2 young kids, and it's carnage is definitely the right word for it, and trying to get them out the door. And I think people don't often see that morning as like valuable time, but it definitely sounds like you can now see the value of making the most of that time to be a bit chilled out, like speak to your partner, like walk the dog, take a bit of time before things get hectic.
I mean, I'm lucky, but like you say, you know, that's what happens over time. And mornings are valuable for me. I mean, it's interesting because when I was asked to be on this podcast, I was like, I'm not a morning person really. But actually, when you've got me thinking about it, it makes me realise how much I do value the mornings actually. And the mornings, I mean, it's interesting because if I've got a morning where I've got a lot on, I've got meetings, I've got presentations, I've got X, Y, Z, there's a different mindset. You know, like I'm up in the shower, you know, the adrenaline's going, off you go, right? So, but if I've got a day in the studio where I know I've got some either commissioned work to do or I've got a more relaxed day, then there's a different rhythm to that in some ways. I've always been a believer of kind of getting yourself set up for the day, and like, and if I know I've got a big day, I've got a pitch. Like next week I've got a big pitch out of London. I've got to get my game face on. Yeah. So I think there's a sort of a different thing, there's a different vibe to that, and I think I like to sort of like embrace that. Yeah. You know, I don't want to wake up and go, oh God, I really don't want to be doing this. You know, for me, it's interesting to like, we're going, got a thing, get to Victoria, meet the guys on the train, get a coffee. I like the rhythm of that actually. Still, you know, even at my age, I actually enjoy that. Yeah. And the thing also that I'm a big believer in is kind of like dressing for it as well. Yeah. You know, like I know it sounds a bit sad, but I'm thinking about what I'm going to wear. No, I get that. You know, like I'm going like, okay, what I'm going to wear. So I'm going to see this client today. They're a bit conservative, but we're the creative agency. Yeah. You know, like what am I going to look like? What's my thing? Yeah. So I sort of I do think about all of those, and actually subconsciously and consciously thinking about those things before I've had my second cup of tea. Yeah. That all happens very quickly, It all goes, you know. It all happens really. So, and that's part of the deal, isn't it, really? Yeah. And do you, you say you pick your phone up and have a quick look. Will that be, you obviously run your sketching and kind of your artistic business and then an agency as well. Will you be checking emails? Will you be checking in on work? Or is it just kind of a general sort of, you mentioned it's more maybe on the sketching side of the business? I'll do a bit of everything really. Okay. I'll just check in. We don't have many international clients, so I think one of the things I'll do is I'll just check in to make sure I've not missed anything from the night before, just so there's nothing I've missed out or I need to just jump on and whatever. And I mean, generally speaking, that's usually okay. And I'll have a quick check around, make sure there's nothing that needs actioning. I feel better when I've done that. Yeah. In myself, I think, you know, I'm not one of these guys who can just go, you know what, I'm not looking until 9 a.m. Yeah. I need to just have a quick look to make sure there's nothing that's going to catch me out. Surprise you, yeah. Yeah, I much prefer to like know what's going on. And do you work in a creative agency, and then you obviously have the sketching artist side as well, so very creative as a whole. Do you find the morning a good time to be creative, or is it something that you think, I don't know, you work into as the day goes on? It's a really good question. I'm not sure where I sit with that. I mean, actually, I do find mornings to be quite a creative time, but I like it as the day sort of gets on. Something. I mean, it's interesting. So there's two sides of it. So from a creative agency perspective, you're in from you're in from 9:30, and then you're on with stuff. You've got meetings, you've got Teams meetings, you've got So that's the rhythm of agency life or business life for everybody, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you've got to be able to cope with face-to-face, Teams, Zooms, all of that, which I think is quite challenging actually. You know, like and often somebody will put a Teams in for 9 a.m. or 9:30, and you'd be like, "Who's done that?"
Tough to get yourself on.
Yeah, it's like you really have to. So we've got all of those things to consider, haven't we? So I think that's interesting. What if I've got a day where I'm working in the studio on the sketching work, I like to sort of get myself in there and get settled and get started and just like gradually build into what I'm doing, because I think that process for me, that artistic process is different to the commercial process of, you know, running an agency, being with clients, working with the team and everything else. So it's a different vibe really, I think, and it's an interesting one for me because I do like it as the day sort of develops. You know, I'm a big fan of radio.
Okay.
I love working to music.
Yeah.
But I like curated music as opposed to like algorithm-driven music. I like the idea that somebody's been behind the playlist.
Yes.
So music's important to me, and I think that idea of being able to settle into a rhythm of what you're doing work-wise is nice. But I recognise that in, you know, everybody's day-to-day, it's almost impossible. It's impossible when I'm working with clients, because you've got clients going, "We need this. Can you do that? Can we have this meeting?"
Yeah.
And somebody calls you up but when I'm working on studio work in Sketcher, that's just me doing my thing, and I've made sure that I've ring-fenced the kind of creative space around that. As an agency, we always had a very open interpretation of what mornings were about. I kind of feel like in our creative agency space, we're actually, people that work in our space are both lucky and unlucky. I mean, in some ways, you're lucky because it's quite flexible. I mean, my brother's an engineer, and he's in his workshop in a big drafty factory at 6:30 a.m. every day. Come rain, snow or shine, right? So he's like, he's proper. Right? I'm fake, you know what I mean? And so when I say, "How are you getting on?" he said, "Well, it's -4 and I'm here."
Yeah.
And he's in his overalls that have got electric things in them and keeps him warm. So, you know, like we are lucky in our industry to be able to have that flexibility. Yeah. Equally, we're on call hours, so we won't be finishing at 5 o'clock like everybody else.
Yeah.
So there's two sides to that, you know. So I always sort of think with agency life, and actually with a younger generation, there's a requirement, I think, to be more flexible. You know, the people do expect that.
Yeah.
I don't think, I know there is a kind of a move towards, well, there's an expectation of that. I'm not entirely sure there is that, but I think there's an appreciation if you are flexible about that.
On the sketching side of things, obviously a lot of what you sketch is the city, or is it taking inspiration from cities and from buildings, from architecture? Do you think the morning is a good time to go out and do that, or do you like to wait until the city's more alive? Is it nice to catch that peaceful time?
That's a great question. I think it's a bit of both, really. I think I absolutely love being in a city like I was in Bordeaux recently, or, you know, Madrid or Malaga, and actually that early morning, before everybody's out and about, you know, great to get out in the city like that, you know, just early morning in any city is wonderful, because it's sleepy, it's quiet, there's nobody around. Yeah. It's a joy to be able to just like have a wander around those cities. The city changes then inevitably as people wake up and it becomes a different place. I mean, you know, where we are in London right now in the West End, if you were to wander around at, you know, 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, it's really, really sleepy, and it's really cool. It's lovely. Yeah, it's a lovely place to be. Cities are great as they wake up and then, you know, like 3 p.m. It's you know, there's loads of people.
It's a different beast.
It's a different beast altogether, and it's quite cool actually. I do like the difference between times of day and the way the city behaves. There's something really interesting about that. I think it's a great point in that, you know, like artistically, just a different mood to a city.
Yeah.
That I think that's just great to capture. I don't want to miss a minute of the time that I've got when I'm there.
Yeah. Okay.
I want to maximize the time.
Yeah.
Which is, it's different, isn't it? That's a different vibe, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. We've spoken to a lot of people who travel for work and asked them, and I can ask you the same thing, I guess, is there anything in your morning routine that you kind of keep sacred, like whether you're abroad, whether you're at home, whatever it is, traveling for work? Is there anything, I've got to do this, even if it's just I've got to have a cup of tea first before anything happens, or it could be very different, like you say?
I don't think there is I don't have a sacred routine.
Yeah.
Genuinely, if I'm in somewhere like Geneva, you can't get a cup of tea anyway. And I was staying in some kind of weird little hotel where, there was, so I'll drink a weird cup of coffee and I'll grab a croissant and then I'm out the door. So, but if you go somewhere different, I do I'm good at embracing that, I think, because I think I don't necessarily need that routine around me when I'm somewhere else, especially if I've got a bit of a focus on what I want to try and do during the day.
Yeah, and the mornings are very different in different places. I guess it's an obvious thing to say, but like you say, it can be fun to go and embrace whatever that morning is there. Like if you're staying in the country, for instance, the morning might be slower, and so you think, oh, I'll have a slower morning. If you go on if you're in New York, for instance, and it's up and it's going, then you want to get up and get going. It's kind of fun being able to embrace whatever the place offers you in terms of a morning, I guess. You mentioned, you've used the word rhythm quite a lot to talk about your mornings and the day, and you said music's very important to you. Does music feature as part of your morning, will it change if it does? Like, do you listen to certain things to get yourself fired up in the morning, or if it's a slower morning, will it be something else, or do you kind of keep it quiet in the mornings?
So music is really important to me. Always has been, really. All through my life, really, in terms of the influence that music's had on my life. I was as I was coming to get into music, it was punk and the new wave and everything else. So music's always been the absolute soundtrack to my life. But on the morning, mostly, I like something a bit more educational, so like some iTunes, so like podcasts. Yeah, I like a bit. I'm perhaps more of a podcast vibe on it. But then sometimes I want some music and I want something a bit lively to get me going. Yeah. Especially if I'm travelling. Sometimes I like if I'm on the train. My favourite band is a band called Sea Power.
Okay.
And they're kind of like an indie band. They've been going about 20 years, and so it's quite full on. And so I like a bit of sometimes I like a bit of something that's going to shake off the cobwebs a bit.
Yes. And then we always like to finish with, is there anybody's morning routine who you would like to know about? And it could be, I don't know, someone you're inspired by, somebody famous, somebody you know. It could be anybody.
So I would be really interested in knowing what Bill Nighy's breakfast morning routine would be, because I'm not going to lie, I'm a bit obsessed with Bill Nighy.
Yeah, fair enough.
I absolutely love him, and his kind of podcast where he talks about his kind of like his advice that he gives.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it, but for me, something like that is just so idiosyncratic in terms of like what he does.
Brilliant. All right. Well, thank you very much again for taking part in this. Really appreciate it.
I've really enjoyed it.
Brilliant.
Thanks so much.